Welcome to episode 301 of the Center Ring Esports podcast presented by Alt. This is going to be the best episode ever. Special guest Ryan from Rush B Media, the founder of Rush B Media, joins us to talk some CS. Also, Yikes of the Week. Our first Yikes of 2021? Maybe? We'll discuss on the show. And, of course, e-news to get to as well. But before we get to any of that, let me tell you about Alt Esports. If you don't know already, they are the best esports apparel company out there. Not only are they ran by good dudes, but they also make good threads. You can get a face mask, a very special, if you have glasses, Anuj, as yourself. Have you ever worn a mask and you're like, my glasses keep fogging up? How do people do this? Well, you're in luck. Nope. You don't use anti-fog stuff. That's ruining the pitch. You buy the Alt O2 Today mask because they have a nice little flap that goes right over the nose. It covers that problem up. And you look stylish as hell. You can pick that up at altesports.com along with their brand new Reset apparel. And if you're Sentinels fans, pick that up. Pick yourself up a 101 Burglars hoodie while you're at it. Tell them the Center Ring sent you. I don't have the liner thingy pulled up. Hold up. Time out. This is why we're not doing it live, because I can actually just edit this and it doesn't matter.
I thought about getting a liner from him, but probably like as in their role, it doesn't really matter.
Right. That's kind of...
So hey guys, this is Cream from Envious and you're listening to Set the Ring.
Okay, so let's start.
Hello and welcome back to another edition of the Center Ring, aka TCR, aka your favorite esports podcast. Episode 301 coming to you live and or pre-recorded from an undisclosed location. The date, January 18th, 2021. The time, 8:45 p.m. Central Time. Go ahead and follow us on Twitter at The Center Ring and our website, tcr.gg. New blog post up, so go check that out. I wrote about our partnering up with Philly Esports and the latest on the Counter-Strike Professional Players Association drama. Remember that a month ago? Yep. No one else does. So go check that out. Wrote up a blog, tcr.gg. And our Discord's in the link and everything there as well. Be a part of that conversation, as the cool kids would say. My name is Tim. I will be your captain for this journey into esports, and alongside me, as always, is my best friend, my brown friend, my non-discriminatory, non-white, meeting industry quotas, Anuj.
If affirmative action was the only reason I was hired, Tim, I'll take it.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with a little affirmative action.
At least not to everybody.
Do you think I get upset when people pay me more because I'm white? Like, I would hate it. Like, hey, why are you giving me more money just because I'm white? That doesn't seem fair. But hey,
is that how it works?
I live with it. I have a funny off-air story to tell you about that.
Send it in DM so I can screenshot it for later.
Yeah. No, but I do have a funny story on that lines. I don't know if that's how it really works, but in one situation with a friend, that is exactly how. That's the only thing that we could assume is how it worked. Because we all got hired at the same time, and yet we all made more money than he did by a little bit, and didn't know why. And the only common thing was everyone else was white except for him. So
couple dollars less an hour. Let's see.
We bought him lunch though, so it's all good, right?
Makes it even
all
weird,
forgiven.
Right?
All forgiven.
Tim, you would know this. Any former hockey player, if you're having issues with fogging in your glasses and you're not a real hockey player, you would know about anti-fog spray. And it works wonders, dude. Like, I never have to deal with the fogging up issue, but I would still go buy our boys over at Alt's little face mask over there just because it looks cool. But the fogging issue does not affect me, my friend.
As a real hockey player, I never wore a mask.
Well, as a real hockey player, you would be missing some teeth.
One of my life dreams was missing teeth playing hockey. And it's happened a few times where I did get hit in the face with a puck, or I get hit in the mouth with a stick because I was the one guy diving in front of shots. And every time I would try to wiggle that tooth and it wouldn't come out, and I was always just a little disappointed.
It's like only cool to be missing teeth if you're a pro player.
No, that's a rite of passage, I think, for any hockey player. Any hockey player would tell you, you know what?
In your 30s, when you're missing teeth and you tell somebody that happened in beer league hockey.
I am married with 2 kids. I don't need to impress anyone. Like, I got it figured out. Even if my wife divorces me now, I'm good. Like, I've checked off some boxes.
Future employers, that's it.
Well, you get a fake tooth and everything.
Well, then it doesn't matter.
Well, you can take them in and out. That's how they do it.
You're going out for the party, so you take the tooth out?
Yeah. You know, nice little parlor trick. So, anyways, good show today. Good show. Ironically, we get closest to the start time of 8:30 when we're not actually live. So it is Monday. We pushed the show back. Our apologies, but we did have a special guest, Ryan, from Rush B Media on with us. So we were like, well, if we're going to have him on Monday, let's just have him on the show and, you know, push it back a day. So that's where we find ourselves. But before we get to Ryan, let's get into our Yikes of the Week. Am I high? Is this the first Yikes of the Week of the year? Did we already do one?
It's number one. Number one. We didn't do one yet.
Are you sure? I think we did. This is our first since
6th,
300.
And then we didn't do it for 300. I don't know, Tim.
I don't know.
Couldn't tell you, brother.
Yeah, we only do the show.
For us, this is the first one.
This is the first one mentally. Mentally, yeah. I'm feeling it. This is the first of the year. All right, so let me start with my Yikes. My Yikes of the Week comes from the side of Twitch, but it also comes from our friends over at NASCAR. Candidate of the COVID award for how they handled it with iRacing and making NASCAR the most watched esport event. NASCAR and chess players, 2 of the most successful esports players ever. Really.
Before you tell us your Yikes, if you can't guess what Tim's Yikes is, based on those 2 clues, NASCAR and Twitch, if you can't guess where this is going, you haven't been listening to this show long enough. I feel like this is like the direct path to saying something shitty, but go ahead. See if you surprise me here.
Hailie Deegan, for those in the NASCAR scene, know her as a very, she's 19 years old, up-and-coming driver, have a lot of potential, and I'm sure she will be featured on many advertisements for NASCAR, if you catch my drift. Well, dude, she decided, as every person under the sun now is doing, is starting her streaming career. So she tweets out last week, I don't know, let's say Wednesday. I don't know what day it was, right? But we'll say Wednesday. Why not? And she goes, going live for my first stream ever on Twitch. And, you know, come follow me. First stream. And then the next tweet that follows the next day. I would like to make an apology for things that I said on my stream, and I just want you to know I've let myself and my sponsors down, and I do not feel like that represents me as a person. And now she is taking etiquette classes mandated by NASCAR. So this chick lasts 1 stream before having to make a public apology. What she said, for those who don't know, is she said the R word, which would be for a derogatory term used for someone who may or may not have mental disabilities. So the R word there. A word, now I'll say this, because I made a joke about this on Twitter, that she lasted one stream before getting in trouble for saying it. She fits right in with Twitch. Like, and everyone,
She's the perfect brand ambassador at this point.
perfect. Like, Twitch should hire her. And I had some people like, well, no, like, you've never said anything. No. That's not the point. The point of the Yikes is you survived one stream. You couldn't make it one stream before having to make a public apology. I'm not saying I haven't said worse. Listen, if you're 19 years old and you haven't called someone the R word, you should be a saint right now. Like, call the Vatican. I have found the next Mother Teresa, because I don't know what 19-year-old hasn't thrown that around.
Especially if you were 19, 15 years ago. You
Oh my
definitely said
Oh
it.
my God, Anuj.
Definitely said it. And my mom's a special needs teacher. And look, that's when she became a special needs teacher probably 15, 20 years ago. That's when I realized I knew the meaning behind it, but I was too much of a dumbass to kind of put two and two together that this is like a bad word,
Right.
and so obviously I would feel like most people in that age group have used it at some point, but you're right. One stream. Hey, first of all, she's a professional, Tim. Okay, at 19, I wasn't a professional
No.
anything. I wasn't even a good student at 19. So I was literally a professional nothing at 19.
I was a semi-professional. I was a semi-professional in Vegas Rainbow Six 1 and 2.
And as a semi-pro, you could probably get away with saying more things than like
Oh my
somebody
God.
that's
Again,
look.
look,
She's been
people, if
she's
you took
been
a
through
time
etiquette
machine,
training before, like you got to go through
Yes.
some of this stuff.
Yeah.
When you become a pro in anything, so
look, man, you get that
one
Twitch chat,
stream.
the Twitch chat, the pressure, the raging, playing a video game. It blinds better judgment, and things sometimes just come out of your mouth, and you can't help it. So
it could have gone a lot worse.
right. I guess that's the good thing, right? Is the fact that she only said that. It's like, okay. We've all been there.
Yeah, and if you just read the headline that she just says something, your mind goes 10 different directions before
course.
it hits that word.
Of course. So. Like I said, I mean, I've known her just from watching NASCAR, and like I think this year she's in the truck series. So it's like the first time that she's like, it's as closest to the big leagues that she's gotten so far. And it's like your first year in the truck series, you're 19 years old, very marketable, things are looking up, and you make it half a stream before you have to make a public apology. I'm surprised.
You fit right in, girl. You fit right in.
Like, I'm surprised we've lasted 300 episodes and haven't had to like backtrack on something that we've said. But she makes it half a stream. That's got to be a new record.
She probably already had the public apology written up prior to even going live.
Probably not bad. That's probably a good life tip for any professional out there. Just always have a public apology copy and pasted for when you go live on Twitch. Just have it ready. Just, maybe a few different versions. I'm sorry I said this about this race, or I'm sorry I said about this this group of people, or I'm sorry I said it about this sexuality. Just keep yourself open, right? Replace some words, almost like an apology Mad Lib. Just
bunch of fill in the blanks as you go down.
Fill in the blanks as you go along, and you'll be fine.
That's a beautiful start to Yikes, and if anyone, her first stream, our first Yikes. So we'll take that as
allegedly
a good one there.
First Yikes.
Allegedly, first
we'll
Yikes.
Have to check the tapes. It's been a long year.
Well, my Yikes, Tim, has been a long time coming, and it's kind of been brewing for a little while here. Takes us into the world of Counter-Strike here. This has to do with Flashpoint Season 3. It's the second biggest league in professional Counter-Strike, with a list of pretty formidable names, right? Like big name orgs are invested into this. And look, they paid $2 million. We got an upcoming season coming up here. Well, Tim, I saw a tweet here the other day, and this actually might have been tweeted out by our friend Ryan. I think he might have been the one that tweeted this out. And it was a list going over where we're at with all of these teams. I just want to read some of these to you because tell me if you see a problem here. We got Cloud9. It says full lineup ready to play. Well, as we know, they no longer have a coach, which you can get away with,
Right.
but they also don't have one of their players, Woxic, who was just recently released from the team for free. So they have given up Woxic. They're down a man. We're missing somebody there. Contact Gaming has been radio silence since November, since their lineup transfer. Have not said a word. We don't know where they're at. Dignitas, great. Got a team ready to play. I don't know if that team included Get Right at the time. If so, then they're also down a man, but I believe they are fully ready to go. Team that we know all too well, Team Envy. A little bit of a problem here. Don't have a team. Gen G Esports. Tim, are you
And they still
noticing a
haven't
trend
said
here?
what they're doing with Envy's spot, right?
No, no mention yet. No mention yet. Just like Gen G. Gen G transferred their lineup. No news about replacements. They had an opportunity to sign several teams, chose not to. No team there. Mad Lions, good job, guys. Y'all have a team. Y'all are ready to go.
Winner by default.
Yeah, winner by default. And then the last two beauties here. MIBR. If you haven't been following the show, couple of issues recently. They have nobody on that roster. They went from made in Brazil to dead in Brazil. They have nobody left on that roster. And then Fun Plus Phoenix. I didn't know they were still in CS with the number of times that this story has gone back and forth. Um, don't have a roster actively, not ready to play. So, based on that list I just gave you, I'm very confused how season 3 Flashpoint is even going to kick off. Like we're missing three-fourths of the teams here. We have three teams that are fully ready to play, and that's if you count Cloud9 having the ability to pick up a fifth quickly, and if the tournament was tomorrow, having somebody to sub in. But really, only two active currently full lineups will give Cloud9 a shot there of being able to be
Two and a
ready to
half. You
go.
have two and a half
Two and a half.
confident lineups that could show up out of the 8 in the league.
That's a problem. Now, granted, these are the partner teams, I believe, that are with them here. There's a group of teams like VP who won season 2 last year, and there's like a handful of rosters that are ready. But for your partner teams, I mean, to have three-fourths of the list empty, it's a bad look. And we have no mention of what's going on here, how they're going to deal with these empty spots, I guess you could say. You're already going through the struggles of COVID and trying to figure out that whole situation or how you're going to continue this season. But yeah, I mean, ultimate yikes. Like you had 7 partner teams, you gloated on them. This is what you were selling. I'm sure your investors like look at these teams that we have invested and here we are getting ready just for the third season after season 2 was kind of a shit show too, let's be honest, but everybody kind of gets a pass for whatever season they held last year. I mean, this
Right.
year you're kind of expected to be a little bit more prepared, and they're as far as prepared as can be right now.
We've always poked fun at Flashpoint on the show for multiple reasons. That they make it easy, right? Mainly because one of the
Thorn makes
faces
it
of it
easy.
is Thorn, right? Thorn runs his mouth and likes to talk a big game, and God bless him, right? If everyone could be as confident as Thorn, we would all be presidents and CEOs, because the fact that they talked so much talk and now this is the walk they decide to walk, it's chef's kiss. It's mwah. It is beautiful for us on the outside that just get to kind of see this scramble that's going on right now. And I can't even find any information on for when season 3 actually kicks off.
They don't even have that on their site right now.
That's what I'm
just
saying.
The season 2 stuff.
So there might
it's
not
funny.
even
I typed
be
in Flashpoint season 3.
there might not be a
And Flashpoint, the
Flashpoint
TV
season
show
3.
is the only thing that really pops up.
Yeah.
IMDb pops up before Flashpoint, the CS:GO tournament does. And look, the most exciting thing about Flashpoint right now is going to be the show match between the talent. Like that's a problem, right? When that's going to be your most exciting game of the year. So, again, they've had so many struggles their first 2 years. It just hasn't been a smooth ride, and I don't expect anything different. If I hear anybody from Flashpoint, Monty, Thorin, whoever else you want to tie to this, making fun of Overwatch League, I'm going to be brutally honest on here, Tim. Like I'm going to let him have it because yes, you can talk all the shit about you want about all the other leagues and whether it's ESL or Overwatch or Call of Duty. They have opinions on everything it seems, which is fine. You can have those opinions. Fix your own home first. You have so many issues, and it's like looking a little embarrassing, especially with the teams that kind of advanced in one last year. Not to say VP is like an embarrassing team to win it all, but like with the group of teams you had, that shouldn't also be the one coming out on top. And so, look, it's been a shit show. I'm really curious to see how they handle this. I don't have high hopes for like a positive outlook on season 3 when we do a recap later on here.
Can I make my first bold prediction of 2021?
Please.
I don't think there's going to be a season 3.
Well, they have
The last post on their website for any type of news was the fact that Virtus Pro won.
It'd probably be a delayed season 3 would be my guess.
Like, do
And
you
then they'll
think like
fill it
they're
in with like replacement teams, right? I don't think you're going to have a group of partner teams that are ready to play besides really 3 of them at the very most, I would think. Chances are you're inviting teams that are just not involved with ESL, which look, that might be a blessing in disguise for them because those teams are better than their partner teams. The teams that are out there on the road, looking for a home, chances are those teams are better than your partner teams anyway, right? Nobody was gloating about Contact Gaming's lineup before they transferred them out. Nobody's talking about Dignitas's active lineup. Envy gave up on their own lineup. Gen G gave up on their own lineup. And then you have, there's just not much there to gloat about. So even if those teams had those active rosters that they had in 2020, you wouldn't have sat here and been excited for season 3. Maybe they can go out there and pull some of these teams that are on the road looking for a home. It might make for a better overall tournament than what you were gonna put together. But yeah, no news, no word. Like they're radio silent, which if you've been following Flashpoint is unusually odd because all they do is talk, right? Whether it's coming from their Twitter account or from one of the big voices within Flashpoint, they talk a lot, and it really has been radio silent. So much so that Thorin's having to go, fight for the Proud Boys or whatever he's doing over there, and take attention off of what's going on at home over here with Flashpoint. So, I mean, radio silence is never a good thing. I don't know if it's going to get any better, but we'll see what happens for season 3.
thoughts and prayers? Thoughts and prayers.
Yeah.
All right, so there's that. Let's throw it over to our guest, Ryan, founder of Rush B Media. He was nice enough to join us. So let's throw it over there, Anuj, and then kind of talk a little bit about what we discussed with Ryan after the interview. All right, let's welcome on to our next guest on the Centering Esports podcast. You've seen him on Twitter. He is the founder of Rush B Media, fellow Cloud9 fanboy. Yes, you have 2 of us this episode. There's also a good chance, if you're a pro, he follows your mom, and all else in between. So please welcome to the show, Ryan from Rush B Media. How's it going, man?
Hey, it's good. How you guys doing? I love the intro. I'll follow all the moms on Instagram. All of them.
I gotta hear how did this start? Because I think it's like Cold Zero's mom was one of the first ones, but that I saw.
No, it wasn't. So Cold Zero's mom was the second one. I followed K&G's mom. So what happened was I wasn't actually even following K&G's mom to begin with. I have like my own esports Instagram, but I don't really use it. One of my Brazilian friends sent me a DM and just goes, check K&G's mom's Instagram. I was like, weird, okay. So I do it. I'm in the middle of a Whole Foods. And this Whole Foods doesn't have any internet access. Like there's no signal. So I have to like run out of the Whole Foods. Like I drop my cart, I just run out because he was like, it's confirming something. And I was like, oh my God. So I'm in the parking lot doing all of these translations. I still have to like go back in, grab my groceries and do all that. And I'm like doing, it was hilarious. And I kept up that joke. And then the same thing happened with Cold Zero's mom. Someone sent me the Twitter account and went, this is what she did. And I was like, no fucking way. Like, no way that I'm gonna do this twice. And I did, and it was really funny. So now, unironically, I try and follow as many moms as I can because moms are proud of their kids. They're good at posts. They're good at
And they
talking
don't
about
know.
it. It's what they do.
They don't know any better to hold off.
So I unironically now follow.
That's not a
follow
bad rule of
relatives.
thumb, though.
I follow. To be fair, I follow relatives. I follow brothers.
It's not just moms.
It's not just moms, but you wouldn't believe how many like good tidbits of information that you can actually find out because relatives are just posting like they're posting with their friends. But
Yeah.
I'm in the weeds.
They don't expect Ryan to be sitting there lurking and listening in. No, that's awesome. And it's like I said, it's funny because I've seen that come up so many different times, and I'm like, dude, this guy's everywhere. Like, how does he even find these accounts? Good to know that your friends are tipping you off. I mean, it's the Brazilian scene. How is that love-hate relationship with you?
Oh, it's good. What I'm lucky to do is that I follow enough accounts and I'm friends actually with enough of the major Brazilian influencers and journalists that we have actually a really good working relationship. Rock Marquez, who was formerly of ESPN Brazil, I forget, he's now with Esportal, I think is what it's called, or Globo Esport. He and I have worked together, I think, on reports dating back for almost 2 years at this point. He was a person that's really helped me understand more and learn more about how to actually do reporting and journalism. And so he and I joke all the time. Then guys over at Draft 5, which is another Brazilian outlet, we joke all the time. And then guys like Memes, HLTV, his name is Lucas. We've played Among Us before.
Yeah.
Like, it's just being able to understand those jokes and do those jokes and then have those people kind of joke back with you. And you do it in a lighthearted way. But we both understand that there's lines that get crossed, right? And it's you have to be active in going against those lines that get when people toe that line and when they cross the line, you have to call them out. You just have to set that bar and you have to set that line of where the joke actually is. So when everyone looks at it and says, "Oh, Brazil hates you," they don't actually hate me. They love to hate me.
It becomes fun.
Yes, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
The whole point of it is literally just to have fun with it. So there are some that hate me because I do it too much, and others that love it because they think I do it just enough, and I'm a constant presence in it. So it's a balancing act. Sometimes it's hard.
Look, as a fan of NACS, you've become an extension of NACS, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's where a lot of your early work went into was really following around the NA scene. I know you've attended, Fragadelphia several times and been there and reporting on it and giving a lot of inside scoop to the NACS side. And so you become an extension of that, which also makes you enemy number one, I guess we can say, for Brazilian CS. And before we get into some of the fun topics, I kind of just want to give people an idea of like, we see you now as this big reporter and journalist, but there's always that growing point. How did you kind of get into the Counter-Strike industry and getting into Rush B Media? How did this all come about?
So in 2008, I was extremely into Halo esports. Halo 3 esports was the jam. 2008, the MLG circuit, I was all about it.
We recently had Pistola on the show.
No shit.
Dream come true.
Oh my
Dream
god.
come true. I'm a big Halo guy. Halo and C9. Like, we should be best friends, Ryan.
We absolutely have to be best friends at this point. No, my team, I remember the biggest part, and I think the time that I really learned that breaking news was really fun was, if anyone remembers back, I think it was 2008, might have been late 2007, when Walshy left Final Boss, and it was the breakup of that, like, the
epic
team.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my god, this is so cool. This is so exhilarating. And I ran to my brother's room, who could not give a absolute shit about esports. He like played Civ 5, like, and Age of Empires. Like, that was the extent of my brother's like playing video games. And I was like, no, this is cool. And I need to find people who think that this is also really cool.
That rattled my world.
So we flash forward to 2016. I find Counter-Strike again. I like knew of it, never really got into it. I play on a really shitty laptop. I start watching pro on Twitch, just seeing if other people are playing it. And then I graduated college and I moved to a new city. I had no one that I knew, completely new, no friends. And so I was like, fuck it, let's just start a podcast. Everyone else does it. Every other white guy who graduates college needs to start a podcast, so let me go ahead.
No, it's true.
And so I tried to be it was a growing point because I tried to do it. I met with Nell Do you guys know Nell,
Yeah,
the French
yeah,
journalist?
yeah.
Yep.
He was
Didn't
actually
you report on his face or something? Like you were the
yes,
first
it's really
one to-
funny. It's
Yeah.
hilarious. He was actually my second follow ever. He was like, and he like my second follower. Like when I
That's
had no
crazy.
followers, he was my second follower because
Yeah.
he and I asked him later. I was like, why the hell did you follow me? He's like, because you had a podcast in your name and we didn't have podcasts, and so I thought you might be interesting. He got me in to the Boston Major. He said I was working for Flickshot, so I was able to do reporting for them, and I did reporting for myself, and it kind of just snowballed from there. And it's been a wild 3 years, a lot of learning because I don't have a background in journalism. I don't have a background in a lot of this stuff. And a lot of it is just you're learning on the fly. You're learning how to do it. You're learning. You have to ask a lot of questions. You learn that ego is a killer. You can't have an ego. If you have an ego for a second, there's always someone that is better than you, does more than you, and you're nothing. So
Yeah.
stop acting like you're something. And that was the hardest thing for me to learn. And I hated it. I hated learning that I wasn't the best because I want to be the best. so
You can think
yeah.
it, you just never say it.
Yes. No, you can't think it. You can't think it because then it manifests in how you act. And no one wants to interact with the guy that thinks that they're the best, smartest fucking guy in the room. No one cares. Everyone thinks he's an asshole.
Well,
And I
Thorin
won't
does
let-
have some friends.
We're
Heavy
finding how
breathing.
far we can push boundaries with you. So you
I'm
may
really-
hear little
God.
things like this, and then we'll see the
Thorin-
reaction and go from there.
Thorin, I don't think it's a secret that I don't like Thorin. I think he's very edgy. I think sometimes he says a lot of things just for the pure reaction. I think he does things to be that instigator person. Which
Skip
is-
Bayless.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I hate Skip Bayless.
A lot of people
Yeah.
do.
Like I don't like it when when your personality is just saying things to
Yeah.
elicit reactions. I don't like that. And that's fine. For other people, that's what they like. And if it works for him, great. But for me, I find it unpleasant. So, maybe he's a great guy in person, but I really can only see a lot of these people through the internet. So it's like
Yep.
very hard to do that.
Yeah, and we've talked about that too on the show, where it's like, if all you're taking is what you see on the internet, for not just Thorin, but for a number of people in esports, it is very off-putting.
Yes. A lot of people said the same thing about me too. A lot of people thought that I was an asshole. A lot of people have had initial reactions about me, and then once people actually get to talking with me or understand that, like, oh, this is a humor thing, this is a joke thing, there are some things that he says intentionally as jokes, and I try and like highlight that. And if I do like upset people, like I feel bad, like I don't want to upset people. I personally like find that really unpleasant when I just I've had tweets, I've had opinions about players, which I have to give, and sometimes those players like they'll respond negatively to it, and I'm like, I was a dick. Did I really have to say it like that? Like, could I have done this in a better way, like to make the same point, but like not be such a dick? And so that again has been a learning process of like, how do you try and make a point across, but like not come off as such an asshole? So yeah, and then the reporting, the whole journey into reporting was, this is really funny. One of the first kids that ever became a reliable source for me, he wanted a pin from the Boston Major. So I bought him a pin and I sent it to him. And he then just started feeding me information. And I was like, I don't know who you are. I don't know what your background is or how you know these things. He told me 3 stories. Every single one which was right until I would actually report on one. I was like, I don't know who you are.
It's like,
Like,
how
I'm
do
not
you
going
know
to report.
this?
Like,
Right.
how do you know this? Like, I have no idea who you are or what's going on. And
Yeah.
like at the 4th one, I was like, okay, let's do this. And then it's kind of slowly built from there. It's getting connections with players. It's getting connections with friends of players. It's getting connections with seeing people, and then tournament organizers. And then it evolves into like talking upfront personal background information with the PR teams of these organizations. And that's the point where I'm at now, which is I've made it to the level where I can actually be such a professional in terms of it and also have the online personality, which I think is the perfect blend for how this all needs to, I think, happen with esports journalism.
So if you jumped into CS, let's say hardcore around 2016, I can see why Cloud9 is the favorite.
Yeah.
You know, I can see why.
Especially if my first event was Boston. Yeah.
Yeah, like huge. So completely understand that. And so I want to talk about Cloud9 because the Colossus, you know, there is like so much going on here. Obviously, the new roster being signed, a lot of hype around this roster, and now we've seen, you know, two relatively big changes in a short period of time with Kassad, the head coach, no longer being there. You know, rumors between him and Alex maybe not having the same style or whatever it may be, kind of pushing him out. And now the big news, one of what we would consider the star players, Woxic,
Yep.
being released from the team. And so kind of want to get your take because I've seen a lot of talk around this about, well, they had a hefty buyout on him, that it looks like they're kind of waiving this fee. They've obviously invested a lot into this lineup. And so want to get a little bit of your take on what you think is going on here, and what direction do you see this going?
So for the first one for Kassad, I reported that Elma Putty was going to replace him, which should still be the case. So I think that number one is a really good move. I think Elma is a really accomplished coach. He worked with C9 before as an assistant coach, with Valens back like way before, and then when Daps and that core were acquired by Gen G, he shifted over to Gen G, and then Gen G.
Yep. Done.
So now he's going to be joining them. Woxic leaving is interesting to me. I couldn't get any information. Nothing. No one could tell me conceivably what is happening. It was just non-performative, non-roster issues. Like, it wasn't Woxic is a bad fit for the team. It wasn't Woxic is performing poorly. It was we need to get rid of Woxic.
You think it's a personality thing? Because that's what, you know.
But I was told by the team, by people background on the team, and I was told by players very close to Woxic himself, it's not a toxicity issue. Like, the whole page was, and I was like, okay, no, but like, really, like, is he toxic? No, nothing. No toxicity is all was the cause. So I don't know what it is. The only things that can come up in my head are he's having visa issues somehow. The COVID stuff isn't going away, so they can't handle him being in Turkey long term. He won't leave Turkey or something or whatever. Like, there's just a million things that I have to think in my head of, like, what is going on.
I know in Henry G's comments, in his statement, he did mention like the high ping and his location issue, like the time zone and high ping. I've never heard that in my life for a player getting dropped off a team before, especially one that you touted up so high and paid so much for, and you're going to kick him over a few months with high ping?
Well, it's like 4 months. Like,
yeah.
4 months.
Yeah.
They signed him September, October, November, December, January. Like, well, no, all of September, it is 3 months because he signed September 19th, right?
3 months and like what, a handful of tournaments, if that?
It just, you don't sign someone for $296,000 and then have a mutual termination.
Like, not selling him off,
does no organization consider him viable? Are you telling me that no organization out there at all is willing to pay any amount of money for Woxic?
Even if it's like 1/10 of the percentage that you're looking for, it's something is better than nothing, right?
No one's going to pay $25K. No one's going to pay $30K. Like, his salary is what, $29,600 a month? Like, I get it.
I'm sure he's willing to work on that number too, right? If there's other options out there and just not paying him as much as he's getting right now. So, you know, it's weird. I mean, this whole situation, because we were super hyped, obviously, going into all the announcements. Yeah. I love the way Cloud9 did it with releasing salary numbers, but it's just a lot of this is almost like biting them in the butt, right? Because now we know too much, and now people have a lot of questions, right? Like, what's going on here? If we didn't know the terms, maybe we wouldn't care as much because, like, oh, there was a trial or whatever, you know, but
I kind of disagree with the idea that we wouldn't care as much. I mean, I think we would still care. We wouldn't know the exact extent to how bad it was, but for like Cloud9 to eat $300,000 over Woxic, you have to look at that and go, what, like, and I don't want to be too harsh, but if I wasn't a Cloud9 fan, and if I wasn't like, I love these guys are great, like, I'm trying to be really nice here, but this is an absolute fucking disaster.
Yeah.
Like, it's actually kind of inconceivable that you did not understand that in 3 months, a player's value can go from $300,000 to $0, to the point of where you're saying it's a mutual termination. Like that is, it's so crazy to think of that's how it is. And that's the point that they've reached. I guess their thought process as well is like, if they can't sell him in 3 months for $100,000, right? Which again, his value decreasing by like he's going to a third of his value in like 3 months, and he's making almost 30K. Yeah, kind of makes sense at that point to drop him because you'll save the 10K off the salary difference of the buyout. But like in terms of opportunity cost, but like I just I don't really have words. I'm really at a loss for words. It doesn't make sense to me. The high ping doesn't make sense. You don't drop a $300,000 asset because you have high ping issues.
Yeah.
It's bullshit.
You figure that
bullshit.
out. You figure that part out.
Right.
Like,
well, like you have teams moving over to Europe to play during COVID, right? Just to get the best competition. Like you would think there was some sort of game plan behind the fact that he's in Turkey. Like that's not new. That didn't happen post signing. Like you knew all these things ahead of time. So it blows my mind. And what I want to know is like, where is the hype level at right now for you looking at Cloud9, and what is their next move in your mind?
So hype level, obviously, like it hurts. A lot of it hurts. I'm hyped because I think Elmo Putty is a really good coach. And I think that under the leadership of Alex and Esatag, you actually have 2 solid players. The core now becoming Zeppa, Floppy, and Mezzy. It's a little underwhelming for Colossus. It's a little underwhelming. Like
I hate that word, Ryan. I hate that they're using that word now because it's like they've memed their way. Like you want to talk about you don't want to sound arrogant or cocky. Even in Henry G's statement today, he used that word to reference themselves. And I'm like, hold up. You cannot reference yourself as a Colossus while also saying, this is why we're dropping a $300,000 player for nothing.
Yeah, it's incredibly underwhelming to see how a team that with the right stats, and I was trying to give them time. I was like, in 2021, they've had enough time to be together with the coach. If everything stays the same, I'd be like, okay, top 10 or bust. Like that's a team that's top 10 or bust. Like you got to make a change after another 3 months into 2021. If you're not making, if you're like top 15, if you're hanging around there, sure, maybe stick it out. But like if you're not top 20, bust. You gotta make a change. This to me, Zeppa, don't get me wrong, Zeppa is an exceptional player. I love him, and he has such a high ceiling. He is such an incredibly gifted and skilled aimer. He's insane. To not have to be billed as a Colossus, to say that you're willing to compete at the top 10 level, to invest the amount of money that they are investing, to be going to someone who is not a top tier certified player and calling yourself a Colossus and still saying that we're aiming for top 10. Now I'm waiting till June. Now I have to wait till June to really see the fruits of everything that's going on. I can't see it now. It's not going to be a Colossus now. It's not going to be Colossus in the next 3 months. After 6 months is maybe then when we can start again considering this team being in the top 15 consistently.
I mean, when 3/5 of your team is a project, right? Like in the sense, Zeppa, we need to see a little bit more at the highest level. Floppy is kind of he's
certified himself. I'm sorry, no. Floppy has actually certified himself as like a top 30 player in the world, in my opinion.
You think he's top 30 right now?
I think 100% he's a top 30 player.
Okay, so let's say he's borderline then. At least he's right around there, right?
Sure.
And then Mezzy is a project where I felt like most Cloud9 fans probably did not know. If you weren't reporting on him, you probably didn't know who Mezzy was prior to their signing. And so it's just like, there's a lot of work to be done here in a time where NACS is already reeling, right? We were kind of hoping for this next juggernaut team to kind of be up there with the EGs and the Team Liquids, but it feels like we're going to have a little time to wait before we can really get excited about this particular roster.
Oh yeah.
Let me ask you this then, because I've mentioned this as a Cloud9 fanboy on the show before, and you seem a little bit more optimistic. Me, I'm a lifelong Lions fan. I don't know what optimistic means. I'm just constantly negative. I think, do you feel like the hype around this Cloud9 roster, since they've done the rebuild and everything, would be nearly as what it was if it wasn't Henry G at the helm? Like, I'm calling it the Henry G effect because everyone loves him for good, good reasons, But you have all of his buddies who are also these top tier commentators saying, amazing pick. Whoa, you signed this player. Amazing.
And that kind of annoyed me. Like, when you look at Essetag, there's no way to cut it. Essetag is not worth $500,000. No. He's not worth $500,000. He was on Astralis for 4 months. It's the Astralis tab. You buy an Astralis player for $500,000. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Essetag for $500,000? Listen, don't get me wrong. I think the guy is great. I think he's a really solid player. But he's not a $500,000 player. That's Nico.
Yeah.
That's Nico.
That's the top 10 HLTV that's being released right now.
If you're $500,000, you're a top 10 player. We know this. And you know why we know this? Because we know the buyouts of these top 10 players beforehand. We know that there is a market value. And Henry G got fleeced. These guys got fleeced. And that's what blows my mind is at a time when everyone's like, oh, there's no more money in Counter-Strike. It's really hard to get players. Henry's going out. He's buying Walksip for $300,000 and then cutting him in a mutual termination for nothing after 3 months. You're buying Essetag for $500,000. The only one to me that makes a whole lot of sense is Alex for $250K. That's great.
And that's because he's an IGL too.
Right.
You know,
he's an IGL. He's done these teams before. He's actually really good. That makes so much sense to me.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, and I don't want to sound too harsh here, my opinion of Henry G as a CSGO GM is not really high. As a GM, it's really not high. These moves haven't proved fruitful. This doesn't look like $1 million team. And
it's definitely unproven. That's where we're at right now. Like, this is a very unproven roster now.
But this is also the argument that I had against Complexity when they went out and they were buying all of their money. And my point still stands about them. They're not worth it. Those players on Complexity are not worth it. That is not a top 10 team. It's just not.
But they've consistently held a top 10 ranking throughout the year, right? Like, even if they're not a top 10 team in the sense of, like, they've won a couple of tournaments. They've played. As a Cloud9 fan, would you be happy if you had Complexity's performance in 2021? If you replicated what they did in 2020, would you be happy with where this team is in 2021?
Okay. They finished 7th, 8th at IAM Global Challenge, 5th, 8th, DreamHack Masters winner, 5th to 8th, Premier Fall 2020, 3rd, 4th, Beijing, 7th to 9th, Blast Fall, 5th, 6th, IAM New York, 5th, 6th, ESL Pro League, 5th, 8th, ESL Cologne, 3rd, 4th, Europe. The one event that they won all year was Blast Premier Spring.
Yeah, and that was like their
for the amount of money. For the amount of money. This is a very important point because if it's not worth the amount of money, fine team.
Right.
Top contending team. Top 15 team. Great.
Do you know what they paid for them?
Paid a shit ton of money.
Like more than.
But you saw what the report was for Alexa B.
Yeah.
It was $1 million. They were going to pay these guys. They were investing millions. They're paying these guys 20, 30K salaries. Upwards of that. Way upwards of that. Like, and when you look at that, again, if you are not in that top 10 consistently, if you're not winning every 5th or 6th event, and give them some credit as well. It's COVID. It's online.
Yeah, it's all different.
Know what happens in LAN. And I think and the other point I have is if it's on LAN, Complexity might be a different team. But other teams have adjusted.
Yeah. Other teams have also, like, they're not a surprise anymore, right? You're not going to overlook them either at this point where, Blame F, I think, has proven himself to be one of the better in-game leaders. And I think that pickup was really a fantastic move. And one that, again, if you weren't really following the scene that closely, you probably weren't that aware of, like, oh, who is this Blame F guy that's going to be running this new juggernaut roster? That's really panned out for them, and I think there's some tweaks that could still happen with that team, but I would think that Jason Lake's probably, considering OBO left when he did, and that they'd have to replace him and find that consistent 5th. I feel like he's probably okay with where they ended up in 2020. Probably not super thrilled and excited, but I feel like they're much more on the rise given where they're at today than what I could say positive about C9's future in 2021. I think there's just so much uncertainty behind this roster. Even if we say Zeppa is the 5th, I would have loved to see kind of where I want to take this actually is like Twist. Twist is a name that would have got me excited.
Yeah.
And I
But
don't know.
again, you just blew $300,000. So like, are you gonna just?
Well, Ryan, if you're
You
blowing
just-
300,000, what does it matter to spend another 500 on
God.
Twist at this point? If you got
Right?
300 to blow, I mean,
I don't even know how much Twist would be. I don't even know.
any word on his future? Because I mean, I want to hear about. He said he was leaving. I believe he said because he wants to compete in Europe. Is that correct?
Yes. He has a girlfriend who is based in Germany, and so
Okay.
he did not feel like going back to the U.S. with COVID going on, all the best competition over in Europe. It kind of made sense to stay in Europe for a year. I think he's going to try it, but
So we can confirm Twist to big is what you're saying.
I think his girlfriend actually works for ASL.
Okay.
Interestingly enough.
Yeah, that's pretty
So.
crazy. I mean, what do you see with Twist's future? I mean, obviously, I feel like Tim and I talked about this last episode. I feel like he should have his pick of the litter. You know, wherever
Yes.
Twist wants to go, Twist should be able to go. Now, assuming that they have a roster spot available,
Yeah.
only a couple teams really, you know, kind of popped out as, oh, this could really be a potential landing spot because of their current situation. You know, Mouse Sports came to mind. FaZe Clan potentially like came to mind as an international type roster. Are there some other big team names that we should keep an eye out for a good landing spot for him?
Well, G2 is international.
That's true. Do you think they make a change though now that they just
They
did the
almost
tryout
did.
between Jax and
Almanac was supposed to be removed. If you remember, that was the initial reporting, was that Almanac was going to be the one that was going to be removed. Jax was supposed to stay in the team. Jax ended up being the one that was leaving.
And that's after they did that little kind of tryout
Yeah.
between those two, right?
Right. So is Almanac still potentially on the chopping block? Like, it's not unreasonable to think that if G2 has been spending money on Nico, like they might be a little cash poor, but they did just get $5 million from Cloud9 for perks. So you have a little cash available there. Why is Twist not in the conversation? Like, I don't think a lot of people are looking at like a Twist to G2 kind of conversation. You would have Nico and Twist.
Yeah, I mean, it
with
would.
Hunter
Next,
leading that
like
team.
these guys are not jokes. Kenny S, like these are all
Like, that-
very good players.
That would be a sick team. That would be a really sick team.
Yeah, on paper, I think that's instantly up there with top three, like Astralis and Vitality, at least on paper. Because I mean,
Astralis, Vitality, Navi, like
Yeah,
you're
'cause
beating
G2
top teams at that point.
G2 is one of those frustrating things where I feel like they're like Cloud9 fans if Cloud9 though was ever still good, right? Like G2 has this expectation of being the best team or potentially best team, and then they'll struggle to maybe get like 8th, 10th place here and there in the world, where I feel like G2 though does have more of a potential. I mean, obviously they just got Nico, it's still a young roster, but they at least have that potential to, like, once they get over the hump, I think they can stay over the hump.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think G2, even if they didn't get Twist, should be competing for a top 3 placing in the world. I mean, there's no reason. Obviously, you have the Astralis effect that I don't know when that team is ever going to fade away. But even G2, with or without Twist, I mean, that's a pretty nasty lineup. It would be hard to picture them not kind of putting it together. Didn't think of G2 as an option. I mean, if you add Twist to that team, that team should be number 1 in the world. I mean, who else has that kind of firepower? And
Only Astralis, really only Astralis and others.
yeah, and you would think at some point, it's been 4 years now of Astralis. Like at some point, we should
Astralis
see a dip,
dominance.
right? Like at some point that's happening. Is 2021 the year?
I mean, everyone thought they fell off when they, were in that rough
Astralis
spot.
shows up for majors, dude.
Yeah,
Astralis
that's
just
it.
shows up
That's
at major
it.
time.
That's
That's
just-
all they do.
They can
Get ready
decide
for
when to.
Stockholm.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm excited about it. That'll be good.
Are you excited about Fallen to Liquid? Because that
Yes. That move has been a long time coming. Long time.
you think it's a good fit?
If they give him the Opera and IGL role, if they don't, I don't know why they picked him.
Why
in
would
all
you sign
honesty.
him if you didn't give him those two?
Right,
things?
but those are currently up for discussion. I don't know what the full. I think Stewie might still be the IGL right now. Fallen is going to be a secondary caller. He's going to be Stewie's the one that wants to institute the game plan. Moses is apparently trusting him with it. That's what I last heard. Could have changed at that point. So it's always important to preface it with that. With anything.
Like that was the plan prior to Fallen coming, or that's what you heard was happening after Fallen?
That's what I've heard kind of in the immediate aftermath of him joining, was that Stewie was going to keep control of the IGL role. And Fallen was going to be opping as well, but Fallen would be supporting Stewie in terms of calls, not Fallen calling and Stewie supporting. In terms of coming up with creative mid-round idea suggestions, trying to flex out different strats, I think it's going to be a triad of Moses and Fallen and Stewie trying to really figure out what's going on, but we'll see.
Do you think this elevates them back to a top position within NA? Or not NA. Obviously, within NA, they are right there, 1-2. But in the world, do you think this elevates them back to like when we were seeing Intel Grand Slam type team numbers with Liquid? Like, do you think they have the potential to get back to that point with this roster?
No, I don't. I don't think they do, which hurts. But I don't think they have that potential to elevate themselves there. I don't think Fallen is the missing crucial piece there. Nitro was the only one, and you can't replace Nitro in my opinion. You can't. Fallen, I think, has spent too long in a team, and he was too ingrained inside of a team, and I think he lost his edge. I think he is a great player. He's a great historical player, great leader, but he fell off with MIBR, and I don't see it coming back.
We've kind of,
and that's what I said last week.
Same
thing.
We were saying the same thing and I don't like, because when I first heard Fallen going to Liquid, I was super excited just for on paper it's exciting, but now that you're telling me that they're not going to necessarily give him the keys to the IGL car, a little nervous now, because to me, Fallen is that type of player where when Fallen was Fallen, like when he was, the guy, he had such like a dominating presence about him. Like those guys on, SK at the time, they looked up to his IGL, right? Like they would follow that guy off a cliff, right? Because they believed in him. If he said it's going to be okay, they believed it. Like how you said, though, he lost that edge, and that's when that MIBR roster kind of falling apart, because you saw that disbelief. So now he's kind of going to Liquid. I don't want to say with his tails in between his legs, but like you said, mentally out of it, right? Like this is...
Yeah.
It's just been a while. It's been a long time, right, since we've seen Fallen at that level. And if he brings it back, great. I think everybody in NA will be thrilled for it, but he's also got to prove that. Like this is a reset button for him, and kind of a reset button for all of NACS. That's what we've seen in 2020. 2020 was a really tough year for NACS. I don't think CS as a whole had some really bad spots, the coaching bug, the stream sniping incident, the potential of MDL match fixing going on there. None of these are big deals, though. Those are all small things. Okay?
Small things that happen in NA all the time.
Little things. So CS will survive that. What I don't know is the future of NACS. I'm very concerned as a lifelong CS fan. We've been playing it since 2000. We've just loved the game. To see NA fall off the way it has this past year is concerning. Valorant is the big brother now. I feel like they've showed up. They're at the doorstep. They're knocking. And now they're starting to invite everybody over, right? And we've seen a huge shuffle happen from primarily the MDL circuit shift over to Valorant and kind of become big names there. Do you see this trend stopping anytime soon? Because I feel like it's going to be really difficult for CS to kind of regain its position that it had. Doesn't mean it's dead. It's just it might not be as big as it was 2017, 2018, early 2019.
I think with MDL's and ESEA's recent changes, the $14,000 cash cups, you're seeing Premier now giving guaranteed automatic promotion into ESL Pro League. You're seeing 4 seasons of which means that you're having 4 teams consistently go up and have the opportunity to do so. You're going to actually see a lot more changes happening. I think the scene is already going to be revitalized again with these changes, and I'm actually excited about it because of what ESEA is doing right now. And they don't get enough credit for this. And it was something that I hammered on publicly. I was like, I'm going to say something a little bit controversial right now. This might get me in trouble. When the whole Chris J CSPPA thing, when everyone was like, NACS is dying, woe is me, everyone decided that this was the greatest opportunity to talk about or care about NACS for like 3 days.
Yeah.
And then not talk about it a single day since.
No.
Meanwhile, people like me people like the writers over at Dust 2, people at HLTV, like MDL scene people, the casters, we've been talking about this for years, and it's been falling on deaf ears. No one cares. And they cared about it for 3 days. They made us think about it. They said all these promises, and then no one actually cared to do anything else after. So when ESEA made their statement and made all these changes, I was so incredibly disappointed with what the reaction was community-wide. No one cared except for NA people.
Yeah.
And it was opportunistic of what happened.
I mean, it's
for
maddening.
that week-long period.
It's
It was
maddening.
so maddening. I was out of my mind.
Ryan,
I'm still out of my mind.
if you ever come to Dallas, you come stay at my house. We'll
With your newborn baby.
I mean, yeah, but you can help take care of my 2 kids even, because I legit just wrote a blog post on our website about just that. I legit just posted it last night saying, so are we still upset with the CSPPA? Like a month ago, and I know you got to get going, so we'll let you go here, but a month ago, we were ready to rush the capital of the CSPPA. Like, we were ready to go full U.S. Capitol insurgent mode on the Players Association, and now, nothing.
Do we just don't care anymore?
It's gone.
We just forgot. Oh, it was just a thing.
That's kind of like Twitter drama for you, though, in that sense, right? Like, it
was-
comes in waves, and
Listen,
then it's like
yeah.
gone.
But you know what? It was psychotic. It was psychotic levels. And people know I'm not a huge fan of the CSPPA. I think its core concept is good, to be fighting on behalf of the players. And that's very noble, and that's very good, and that's what they should do. And I agreed with the protest at Blast, with the understanding of the information that the players they had this thing that they disagreed with, and they wanted to make a point, and they protested. I thought the protest, listen, if that's your standard now for it, Godspeed. But that's what now you got to do all the time. And I wrote a blog post about it. And you know what happened? People shit on me for that blog post. That was like, hey, players trying to stand up for their rights is good. And everyone was like, oh, so now you fully support the CSPPA. No.
Right.
When the NA EPL thing happened, they didn't care. But you know what? Now all of you fuckers made your stand at that point of saying how bad it was and how awful and how they never cared about the NA scene. None of you tweet about the NA scene. None of
Not
you
once.
care.
Not once. They didn't
None
care
of
at
you
all.
care.
I
off.
highlighted Thorin in my post because I don't know about you, Ryan. I don't know how often you use the words evil and destroyed in normal conversation, but they were legit saying that Sir Scoots is evil and it has to be destroyed. Like, we're talking about some evil empire here. I agree with you, and we've talked about it multiple times on the show. Are they perfect? No, absolutely not. Do things need to be changed? Absolutely. But it's the closest we've ever got to a proper player representation in CS. Let's not start from the ground up.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh my god, I feel finally
No,
like
just
I'm
let
with
it
people
out.
that
Just-
understand. Oh my god,
Shake it off your
it
shoulders.
broke me. It actually broke me as a human. That like 1 week period, it broke me. I was just sitting at home and I was like, this is the dumbest thing that we're fighting about. This is just so dumb. Everyone just wants to give their hot takes and be dumb.
That's it.
So that's what I have to say about NACS.
Well, look, I agree with you. The ESEA changes are huge. Like, those are really big. After what ESL really gutted last year, this is an opportunity for people to come back in, or at least stay. I mean, more than anything, we just want people to stay. The ones that are still there, we need to take care of those. If it brings in new talent, great, but we have to take care of our own at some point, and this was a good step.
I already know that more organizations are now interested in Premier League teams.
Like
I
Envy?
already know that teams are going to be getting picked up or signing contracts soon. The amount of money that is being put into NA by ESCA has been incredibly helpful. The scene is changing. More and more teams are now interested. Organizations are interested in entering into. They want to do it. It's gonna take a full year. It's going to take a full year before we start to see actual changes. And people need to be prepared for that, because everyone in NA likes to only think in 1 month increments.
Yeah.
Everyone in CSGO likes to think in 1 week increments. But it's going to be a long process. But by 2022, we are actually going to see tangible changes within the money within NA CSGO. And I guarantee you will have at least one pro from Valorant, one person who's on a signed team, like a professional team in Valorant, who will probably be signed by a team in CS:GO. I can make that claim right now. Like, I genuinely believe that there is going to be more money and more stability doing it. And that's what we're going to see, and it's going to be exciting.
Well, we would love to see it back. We would love to see the resurgence of NACS, and hopefully Stockholm is an opportunity for some of these guys to show themselves off, right? E.g.
Absolutely.
Liquid, one of these. We just need somebody to pull through. So hoping to
Bring
see
NA another major, baby. That's what I'm all about.
That's right. All right. Well, Ryan, we will let you go. Appreciate it again so much. We didn't even get a chance to talk about the major. We didn't even get a chance to talk about Envy. So we'll definitely
we
have
just
to
talked for like 50 minutes. You guys were telling me beforehand it's like 24.
Bro,
We just had such a
this
great
happens
time.
every time. This happens
It
every
does.
single time. So good. This gives us like great reason to bring you back on at some point. Hopefully you
Hey,
enjoyed it.
I'm down.
We followed your work for a long time. We appreciate all the
Oh,
hard work you put into the
I
CS:GO
appreciate
scene.
that.
It's dude, it's a tough job. You know, it really is, and we're glad that you've taken the reins, and you seem to really enjoy it, and we can see that in how you kind of reach and talk to the community. So thank you for everything that you do for NACS and Counter-Strike as a whole. And thanks for coming on the show, man. We followed you for a long time, so it's been a lot of fun, and we appreciate that.
I can't tell you how much I appreciate those words. Thank you guys so much. This was so super fun.
No problem, man. We'll get you on again, talk about some major. We're going to talk Halo.
Yes, please.
Look,
please.
Anuj didn't follow it. I just need someone to talk final boss with. It's the biggest, and I've told him.
Give me straight ripping, though. Give me straight ripping. I want to talk about Snipe Down. I want to talk about Snipe Down, who's an Apex player now.
It's the biggest shame in esports that we let
I
those brands
know!
go away. Like, final boss needs to be an org. Like, release it.
And for somebody that doesn't follow Halo and knowing like who they are and what they've accomplished, that should mean at least something. So
Yeah.
we'll revisit this again. We have so many different things we can talk about, whether it's CS or otherwise, and we'll definitely make that happen at some point.
All right. Well, fantastic stuff. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
All right, brother.
Thanks, buddy.
See you later.
Appreciate you joining.
Bye.
Stay safe. Bye.
All right, and there you have it. Ryan from Rush B Media. Thanks again for coming on. Look, I know we had to cut off the interview short because we all looked down at the clock and it was like, oh my God, we've had you on much longer than we anticipated. But we do have to have him back on again because I know you said me and him would be buddies because our Cloud9 fandom. I had no idea about his Halo fandom.
No, that was news to me too. So
What a nice little treat.
I mean, definitely somebody we could be gaming with at some point. I know he plays a lot of Counter-Strike. Have to have some more conversations with him because that really could have gone on a lot longer. And appreciate him coming on. Like his insight into what's going on. You won't get better info anywhere else, right? Like he's so in touch with different organizations, especially on the NA side, that it's great to get an inside look at what's happening. And I'm glad he was brutally honest, Tim. Like you don't see that enough because you could kind of tippy toe around a lot of these topics, but it was good to get his real take on it, and definitely appreciate him coming on.
For sure. So look forward to having him on again, probably in the near future. Maybe when this major happens, right? That's happening.
We'll have him post major, Tim, right after he goes off.
Yeah. All right, let's get into some e-news. But before we do, e-news, again, is sponsored and officially brought to you by Philly Esports. Our friends over at Philly do esports the right way. Go check them out, phillyesports.net. You can sign up for their weekly or monthly events. Don't have to be in Philly. Don't let the name trick you. Okay, they are national, maybe even global, I guess, depending on some of these games that you can do. For example, their monthly event for January, coming up January 23rd, Hearthstone Best of 3 Conquest Tournament, $10 entry fee, NA servers, but again, pretty sure you can get away with EU on Hearthstone. I mean, it's not like a hit reg on that.
Flip a little bit slower.
No hit reg on that one. I think you'd be okay, maybe. But a $500 prize pool, $10 entry, can't beat that. Again, if you are a pro looking to just, hey, you've always wanted to try competitive side of it, excellent entryway point. And they have weekly events. Fortnite Wednesdays, you can do a Wednesday drop-in, custom game competition. Winners walk away with a Amazon gift card. That is every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern. So check that out, phillyesports.net. All right, e-news. A little bit to get to here. Most of it we talked with Ryan in greater details, but we'll still just run through what we have here in case we missed anything. In CS, as we said, PGL is set to host the next CS Major. It was just recently announced after a 2-year hiatus, obviously because of COVID and whatnot. Will be in Stockholm, Sweden.
I hope it's going off, Tim. Like, fingers crossed. I am dying for a Counter-Strike major. I want to see if Astralis can hold the throne or if somebody new will break through and take it. But I'm excited they announced it. I'm surprised they announced it as early as they did. But fingers crossed that
Field
this
of
is going
Dreams,
off.
Anuj. Field of Dreams.
Yeah.
If you build it,
I would be worried to buy my ticket. I'm not as brave as Ryan is to buy a ticket already for it, but rooting for it to happen like none other. Like, I would love to see it. And Stockholm is a beautiful city for Counter-Strike. Like, that would be wonderful.
if you build it, they will come. Just set the stage. We'll make it happen. And on the bright side, like, people are worried about COVID. Well, no NA teams qualifying anyways, so just
Yeah.
you don't have to worry about EU teams there anyways. So not a big deal. Not a big deal. Get Right has officially retired from CS to focus on content creating and Twitch streaming. He said that he's always looked up to tens and thought, well, if he's doing it, so can I. No, he
Yeah, they're
didn't
kind
say
of in
that.
the same boat. Like, both of them had illustrious
Yeah,
professional
both of them,
careers, and like I'm glad he's able to follow in his footsteps and do that. Look, I think Get Right saw that he was in our Hall of Fame and knew that it would only really truly mean what it should mean to him by putting aside the sticks, right? Like, put the mouse and keyboard away, get into content creation, focus on a dream outside of esports. Like, this is devastating though, Tim, to see Get Right actually retire. Like, I'm joking about it, but inside I'm crying a little bit. This man has been everything to Counter-Strike fans for a long time, right? If you just started following him in CSGO, there's a whole nother side of Get Right dating back into 1.6 and his legendary days, and had some really thoughtful and nice things to say about his longtime partner in crime, Forrest. And so it's sad to see him retiring, but I do think we are in good hands. Like, we have so much great talent within Counter-Strike, and he's helped pave the way for a lot of them. So he's left his legacy. He won't be forgotten. I'm glad ESL did a send-off for him a year and a half early. That was sweet of them to think ahead. But this is the real retirement, and look, sad to see him go.
I forgot about that. They should just replay that same video.
Yeah.
Blast Premier Global Finals are set to start tomorrow. Some of the opening matches you have are Astralis versus EG, G2 versus Furia, Vitality versus Complexity, and Navi versus Liquid. All in all, some heavy hitters.
Hey,
I
look, this is a mini major, okay? This is $1 million event. You know, there's been a lot of tournaments leading up to this. I really do feel like we have a majority of the best teams in the world, you know, in this event. And so if you're looking for some good Counter-Strike to kick off your year, like, this is an event you're not going to want to miss. This is truly like as close to a major as we've had in the last year in terms of what's on the line, and then like kind of that small grouping of teams, and it's not like we've had to fill in some slots with some average folks. Like, these are a bunch of heavy hitters that are going to be going at it with a lot of new lineups in play. I think Furia is the only one that's not going to be playing with their true new roster, but nonetheless, this is going to be an amazing event. So if you're looking for good CS, it starts tomorrow morning, 9:30 Central, and kind of goes, I think it's 9:30 tomorrow. So look it up, though. You can go to HLTV, find all the details there.
Speaking of Furia's new roster, it's Junior is their new fifth. And for Godsent is re-entering CSGO with Taco as the headliner. So, interesting move. I wonder if that means they're going to go Brazilian, or if he's more open to go
They
EU.
tweeted out a picture of their logo with like the Godsent logo and a Brazilian flag behind it. My guess is they try to make a push at going with the full Brazilian roster, but
CS,
it
CS
feels weird.
Teams love to go full Brazilian.
Yeah, like they've been a diehard Swedish team for a long time,
Yeah.
so weird move. I'm more excited about the Junior to Furia because I want to hear the comms. Like, Junior's coming from Triumph. I don't think he speaks Spanish, so that's gonna be fun to see like what they do there. But Junior's a great
they don't
talent.
speak Spanish either.
I'm sorry?
They don't speak Spanish either.
Portuguese. What are they speaking?
Portuguese.
Portuguese, whatever.
Still,
I
it's
don't
all
think
fun
Junior speaks
fact, Brazilian fun fact.
Yeah. I know.
It's all the same to
yeah,
you.
It'll be fun to see though. Junior's a really good talent, so he's going to be coming in and stepping into that op role for him, and we'll see what they can do. But you will not see him at this event. I believe Honda is stepping in for him at this event.
In Overwatch news, former Overwatch League pro Ryu Hong is how I'm going to say the name. Probably butchering it, but you'll get the drift. Makes sexist and degrading comments to a female streamer. Basically, he got drunk on stream and said bad things to a female streamer. So safe to say he is a permanent former pro. And rumors going around, the big rumor going around for right now in the Overwatch League is that LA Valiant might be being sold to a Chinese ownership and jumping over there. So they have announced, and the reason this is all starting is so they've already announced that they're playing in the Asian division for the upcoming league. Like they originally were supposed to be over here, but then they said, no, we're going to go over to China because obviously just, roster and all that. So then the rumor got kicked up that they're going to be sold, obviously with their parent company, Immortals Gaming, have sold off Optic from the CDL. We talked about that a couple weeks ago. So, I mean, I guess there's enough smoke there to where there could be a fire, but
they came out and said that the rumor is not true, which means that it's 100% happening.
Yeah, like they came out and said, no, guys, don't worry about it. I don't know, whenever an org says something's not true, it's a good sign, right? Like okay, we're gonna
more than likely it is happening, and they're trying to keep it all under wraps to not blow any deals or whatever is happening there. So we'll see. That would be interesting.
I mean, that's a big
the whole Blizzard and Hong Kong thing, getting a Chinese investor here. This will all be for a fun story. So we're gonna let it brew and see where it goes, and we'll jump back on this when it does or does not happen.
In Valorant, Luminosity ended up defeating Sentinels 3-2 in the Nerd Street Gamers Winter Championship. Bit of a surprising outcome there. I didn't get to watch a whole lot of this event just because timing, but still, I don't.
The finals were great. If you get a chance, go back and watch the finals. It did hit all 5 games. I think surprising that Luminosity was able to pull this off, and Sentinels, still kind of finding their footing after not finishing strong in First Strike either, in the sense they didn't win it, but still making finals, so I guess that's good for them. But for Luminosity to pull through after their whole roster had been gutted, that's pretty impressive.
We actually talked about this maybe last episode, but Moon Raccoons officially is disbanding, sort of. A majority of the players are leaving, but the brand will still be there. They will still try to get a new roster. But unfortunately, and almost like we speculated last time, timing, right? Just sometimes you run out of time. And so some players were getting individual team offers. They weren't getting an entire roster signing. So they said, you know what? Let's just work on ourselves and have the memories.
Yeah. No, that sucks to see.
Yeah. I mean, I guess ideally you would want them to stick together, right? Just for the feel-good story. But hopefully these guys weren't turning down like big solo contracts either, right? Like
I doubt they would do that.
Like if Cloud9 was asking to sign someone,
yeah.
like hopefully your boys would be understanding and be like, guys, I could sign with Cloud9 and play with Tens. And then they find out Tens was the one leaving. It's like, oh, I'm going to stick with Moon Raccoons.
Yeah.
According to Finnish media, Jampy is leaving ENCE, so leaving Counter-Strike and making the move over to Valorant. For those who might not know off the top of your head, Jampy was the player who's been banned from Valve. So, I mean, it makes sense because it's kind of, I mean, that's what iBuyPower did.
That's what everybody else is.
It's what everyone's,
doing. It's not a bad move, though.
No.
Like, I mean, it would make a lot of sense, actually. So if that happens, that would be awesome for him. Would love to see what he's able to accomplish, and without that kind of leaning over his shoulder. On other pro news, Tim, I found this kind of interesting because I saw this pop up today. Former Apex Legends pro Dizzy, he was kind of at the peak of his streaming career when Apex launched and really just blew up there. Him and ACU at the time was a streamer and pro player for NRG. Is making a comeback, and I don't know if he's actually going to go pro, and he's quit also a couple of times now for mental health issues that he's gone through. So maybe like esports is just not the main priority for him, but he is making a comeback. He did mention Valorant will be the game of choice, and look, dude's super talented. So if he can make it work and play it at a professional level, you'd love to see it, but no word on that part yet.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, he was so dominant in Apex, so it'd be cool. But like you said, I mean, you know what? And no shame, right? Take care of your mentals. Take care of your chickens. In CDL, in COD news, CDL announced that one way that they're avoiding GA drama. A little weird to be, again, I love CDL, but the way they do their stuff, Anuj, is so ass backwards. The fact that you've waited this long to announce when your season's starting, and then you waited this long after pros have been scrimming all 3 or 4 months that the game's been out with GAs and like making rule sets and things like this. And now all of a sudden they're announcing that they're going to have set classes that the pros choose from to play with. This is avoiding GAs. It's avoiding all these, ongoing things. I'm assuming this will be an ever-changing class set. Hopefully they're working with pros as far as what they would want to see as classes. But I don't hate this. It's just weird that like you're all of a sudden announcing it after months of practicing a different way.
Yeah, like it can go either way. I don't right now I'm not a fan of it. I got to see what like kind of class setups and how they're doing
Right.
it and how many options, cuz also like the meta changes so often. So do I trust CDL enough to stay on top of that and make the necessary adjustments quick enough, before a weekend match is coming up?
There just needs to be a system. Like if you have a system where it's like, okay, we have an event coming up this week. Let's get with the pro committee. If there is a pro committee, let's get with this hypothetical pro committee and let's figure out what sets we want to have for this weekend. And then for the next event, all right, let's get again with the pro committee, see what's changing. What are they wanting to see? And then that way it's not as like blindsided to them as far as what they need to practice with.
Yeah. I would like to actually talk about this more. So maybe we revisit this again, like during the first week or leading up to the first week. But this is, it's just a weird move to make. It's never happened before. And this kind of power within the hands of somebody other than the players has like not proven to be successful, even though that's what a lot of us want. It's just somebody else to kind of be the authoritative figure over GAs. I don't know if this was like the best route, but very curious to see what kind of class setups they have. And I'm going to look more into reactions because I really want to get the takes of some of these players. And, maybe we'll reach out to some of our people and see if we can get somebody on the show. But I would love to see what they really think about this.
Yeah, so we'll save it for another future episode. And in other news, G2 has announced that they are partnering with Adidas. I think joining North, if that partnership is still going on with Adidas. So big signing. There's actually been a couple big signings, and now I'm forgetting who. Like, there's been a big partnership announced for a couple of teams. I'm blanking on them now, but
G2 with Adidas is a big W for them. Like, obviously Adidas is Adidas, but like I think G2 and them it feels like a very good partnership, and they put out some pretty good looking stuff. So excited to see what this partnership entails.
Yep. So there you have it. There you go. Episode 301 of the Center Ring Esports Podcast. It's done. It's in the books. Thank you so much. Thank you to Alt for sponsoring the show. Thank you to Philly Esports for giving us e-news. And thank you
to everyone this week. Like, we had an awesome showing for community night. So I really appreciate everybody that came out playing Battlefront for like 3 or 4 hours.
Let's pause on the outro music because I completely forgot to mention community night at the start of the show. Yeah, it was a great turnout for a community night.
A lot of fun. That game ended up being a lot of fun. I was a little like skeptical on like, man, I hope I enjoyed this more than just this one night that we played. But even if it's just for that one night, that's fine. And then I catch you and me on the next day, still playing. So it was a lot of fun, and appreciate everybody that came out to support. It was a good time, and really enjoyed the night.
Yeah, no, I figured we would have played like an hour of Star Wars Battlefront and then hop over to Valorant, but I mean, we had like 10 people in there and we were all having fun. Like, here's the thing though, if you want to go in, I think it's still free. It's still free on Epic. So I think it's a perfect weekend chill game. Like if we ever just have a bunch of listeners on that want to dick around on Battlefront, go in with like zero expectations though. Like don't go in thinking, oh, you're an esports podcast, you must love hardcore esports games. Battlefront must be hardcore. No. The game is, there are some maps where you are just destined to lose. Like you just, like you will not win on some maps. They're so unbalanced. But
the good news is there's so many maps that chances are you're not replaying any of them if you're even putting a whole night into it. 3-4 hours. I don't think we replayed one map. So good time. Game was a lot of fun. Still down to play if anybody would love to join us. And once Tim's back from baby mode, maybe we set another one of these up in a couple of months and get everybody back together, because that was a good time.
Agreed. Yeah, we'll definitely do another one coming up here, maybe in like a month or two. Like you said, once I get my bearings of another newborn, which could be any day. Any day. The wife has given me an update, and she says things are happening. So that's as much details as I would like to know. She just needs to tell me when I need to grab my keys and get to the hospital. So could be any moment. Could be tonight. We'll see. So keep an eye on Twitter at the Center Ring. Check out when episode 302 is coming. But until then, business as usual. We will be back Wednesday night. Talk some more esports goodness. So maybe some CS. We got the Blast Premier Global Finals starting up tomorrow. Talk some that. Maybe some drama will happen. Who knows? We'll see. Thanks again, though, to Ryan from Rush B Media for coming on the show. Definitely appreciate his insight and coming on. We'll have to get him on again soon. Talk some Halo. Maybe when Halo kicks off, we can reminisce over old days. Follow us on Twitter at the Center Ring. Join the Discord, all that fun stuff. Website tcr.gg. Check out the blog. For Anuj, I'm Tim. We'll see ya.